Hey guys, Sam Gukwa here coming at you with another saxophone lesson. This video was requested by Andre Frizeo and it's going to be all about my warm-up routine. So thank you very much, Andre, because that was a great suggestion. Now, with warm-up routines, I'm a strong believer in personalizing them, not only to the things that get you warm, but also playing up to your weaknesses so you can focus on them and be in that mindset to fix them when you're actually playing during your practice session. So if you're somebody who either doesn't know what they want to work on in their warm-up routine or doesn't know what techniques to use to work on those things, please either email me or send me a DM over Instagram so we can schedule a lesson and I can show you some techniques. So the first thing I'm going to show you is something I learned from Tim McAllister of University of Michigan and then got perfected by my good friend Ben Porter. More typically used by classical saxophonists, but because one of my weak spots is embouchure control, I love to start with this, and I'm sure you know where I'm heading, mouthpiece exercises. So all you need for this is your mouthpiece with a fresh reed on it, a tuner, and if you're not amazing at singing intervals yet, a keyboard. I usually use a keyboard anyway, but my keyboard is 14 hours away in the great city of Denver, so I'm going to be doing some ear training along with this. Now for an alto mouthpiece, your resonant pitch is A, and for a tenor, your resonant pitch is G. So that's what we're going to start by playing. For these exercises, with your embouchure, you want to focus on having your cheekbones tighten up and your jaw relaxed and down as possible, because what we want to do is we want to stretch that space in your cheeks and force your corners to go in. So if I drop my jaw right now, it goes, my corners come in, which is what we want because we're trying to create a seal around the mouthpiece. The other great thing about this warm-up, it's something I struggle with being a little bit of a perfectionist, is you're never going to start on it good. No matter what you do, every day you do this, it's going to feel hard. Even if one day you hit like a D flat, maybe the next day you struggle on an F. So I'm going to start by trying to hit an A. And what we're looking for is consistency in pitch, tone, timbre, all that good stuff. We don't want to be bending. We don't want to be bending up or down after we hit it. Not too bad. So now we're going to try bending down, half step by half step. We're just doing intervals. So this is actually a great ear training technique too. Because while you're doing this, you can go 1, minor, second, major, second. I've demonstrated that in my ear training video, but this is another great way to just sneak that in. Now, as you'll notice, I'm getting this weird kind of crunchy sound, and that sound is caused by a lack of seal, so it probably means either my jaw is too high or my cheekbones are too relaxed. And if anybody wants to leave in the comments what muscle that is, because I have no idea. Compensated on that major third. This is where the ear training comes in. I played it too flat. Now I know major thirds are not that wide of a gap. And another thing you should know is if you feel your embouchure changing to hit those lower pitches, you don't want your embouchure to change. So what you do is you fit that high A embouchure to the embouchure you're using for that lowest note. Because the lower you go, the more relaxed you'll be. And we want to be as relaxed as possible. So this really isn't about training every single note to feel like A, but training A to feel like every low note. We just start on A because it's the easiest pitch to hit. So here's the spot where I usually have breaks. What we're going to do is we're going to slow down my slur. So right now, I'm kind of trying to drop. Now we're going to try and slowly glide down. that time because I slid well. There it is. So that's a great one. Not only an exercise in embouchure control, but also an exercise in ear training and humility, because it sounds terrible every time you do it and it makes me sad. Next part of my warm-up is a 3-part overtone warm-up. So put your mouthpiece back on your horn, because we're going to be using this thing. Now, if you're not familiar with what an overtone is, it's basically a series of pitches. Whenever you play a pitch, you're not only getting that sound wave, but also the multiple sound waves. So if you play a low B flat, you're going to get the sound waves not only from that low B flat, but from the B flat above, and then the next F, and then the next B flat, and I believe the next one is D. It goes infinitely high, and this is actually how you get into the altissimo register. But for the sake of warm-ups, I usually just stick to the first 2 or 3 parts of the overtone series. And the first one I do is focused on getting them tonally sounding good. So I'm going to play a biz B flat. I'm going to match it by playing that B flat, but fingering a low B flat. And then I'm going to relax the back of my throat so that it drops down to the low B flat. I'm going to stand up so you can see it. Do the same thing with B. See? C sharp. Then we're going to go to the next set in the series, which starts on F. So we're going to go F, B flat, drop. Next set, 2 octaves up, so B flat again. Now, in this set, you might be breaking back down to that second series, and that's totally fine. This is one that takes a lot of practice. Usually, when I first started, I could actually hit the second series better than I could hit the first series, but the tone matching is a really good trick to getting it to work. A lot of teachers like to teach it where you just start on B flat and you try and force yourself to do every single overtone. So but that's messy, and it encourages pushing your jaw up and overcompensating, which nobody wants, so we don't do that. We match. So that part of the exercise, what you want to try and do is get the tone and the timbre as close as you can, so you can hear it. Usually my C and my B flat are the best, where they just kind of sound similar and you can't totally tell when I switch. In theory, you can actually totally tell when I switch. But this is an exercise that you should focus on trying to play softer if you're struggling. We tend to have more control over our embouchure when we play softer, and this one is all about control and accuracy. So the next set we're going to do is playing scales in the overtone series. To begin, you should only be doing like the first series, which means we're going to start by playing the sound of his B flat, fingering a low B flat. So you can see there. And I'm just gonna play a B flat major scale an octave lower than I'm voicing it. So you heard me pause at that G, and that's because I heard the G wanting to crack. If your note wants to crack, hold it. Usually the easiest solution to problems in your tone on a certain note is to hold the note. We always try to do all this stuff. Literally just hold it and try and make it pretty. That will fix most of your problems. Anyway, you do the same thing with B. So I'm struggling there. I'm going to try again. So you heard that B natural get better as I worked on it. For some reason, B flat and C are always my best in every key. Most people think B flat is the hardest. But you'll figure out what works well for you and what doesn't. And again, focus on the things you struggle on. You do that with B flat, B natural, C sharp. And then you can keep going up the series as you get better. The thing I should say is all of the techniques I'm showing you are things I've been working on for at least 3 months now. So it's a long process to get to this point. It's slow, it's tedious, don't worry about it. You're doing fine. And again, if you're like freaking out and you're struggling, reach out to me and we'll schedule a lesson, no big deal. So the last overtone exercise we do is my favorite because you get to play loud. And we're essentially doing the same thing we were doing for the first exercise, except we're not dropping pitch and we're doing it fast. It's about speed and volume. So I'm gonna play normal, overtone, normal, overtone, normal. Half step up, normal, overtone, normal, overtone, normal. You'll hear it when I demonstrate it. To that palm D. You also might have noticed when I hit my B and my C natural with the octave key, when I played overtone B, I didn't press this middle finger down, and when I did C, I didn't press my first finger down. That's just a trick you can use if for some reason your overtone's not voicing. So the only reason I do that is because for whatever reason, I can't get them to voice when I press all the keys down, so I just keep one key up and it voices for the most part. That's an issue with my horn, which I need to get resolved, but if you're even just struggling, you can try that. Certain keys can be pulled up to make it a little easier on you to make the tube more short. You also probably noticed that there were a bunch that sounded really messy in there. The break wasn't very smooth. And that's totally fine because for this exercise, we're again going for speed and volume. It's about getting your voicing in your throat. It's not about accuracy. That's why we do other exercises for accuracy. So the last thing I consistently do in my warm-up routine is scales. And I have a little chart I keep for myself that tells me if today is a sharp or a flat day. Today for me is a flat day. And you want to pick what you're doing with scales. For a warm-up, I typically go for speed and accuracy. So I work on my major scales right now, and I'm trying to get them fast. Right now I think I'm at like 100 for my palm keys and probably like 110, 120 for everything else. But when you struggle with one part of your instrument, you want to keep everything down at that pace. So I'm not pushing like to my absolute max because my palm keys can't do it, and I want to work on my palm keys. So I'm going to set a metronome for 100 beats per minute. And it doesn't matter where you start this. You can start at 30 for all I care. As long as you're playing them accurately, and smoothly. You don't want to be swinging these too hard or doing like ba da 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 da. Make it consistent, make it accurate, make it in tune. So let's see if I can demonstrate this well. I'm gonna do all my flats, so I'm gonna start with C, then F, then B flat, then E flat, etc., etc. I won't do them all for the sake of you people. So starting with C. F. B flat. E flat. So you'll notice my palm keys obviously don't sound as smooth as the rest of the notes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take those little chunks of palm keys and I'm gonna start by playing it in eighth notes. Once that feels consistent, triplets. And that, I would probably spend more time on the triplets if this wasn't for the sake of a video, but then you go to 16th. And there you have it, you have a full system going. Suddenly you can play all your scales and it's fast and it's great. So we have set our embouchure, we have gotten in the proper voicing, and we have gotten our fingers moving fast, which are the three basic things you really need to be doing when you play the saxophone. The next thing you need to do is focus on places you struggle. This might be articulation, this might be tuning, this might be rhythm, this might be sight reading. And there's a million techniques you can do for all of these. If you're struggling with articulation, just put on a drum track and practice your duden tonguing. There's also a great one where you play every note on your horn and you go. So that's 1, 1, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. That's a great one to get your tongue moving. Tuning, if you're struggling with tuning, put on either a cello drone or a tanpura drone and just practice playing your major chords. So I'll pull up one right now so you can see. La 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 la, turn it on. Okay, so here's tanpura in D. So I'll start by tuning my bass note. Then I'll go for my, I like to go in the fifth first with this a little easier than the third. And then the third. That's something I like to work on because specifically my thirds are a weak spot. So that's something I would do next in my warm-up routine. Sight reading, super simple. Just buy like either like one of those Star Wars books or one of those like TV movie books for music you know, and practice sight reading with that. That way you know if you're right or wrong. That's how I did it. There's plenty of exercises you can do to improve different things, and that's just one from every issue. I have a bunch for all of them. So saying it for the third time, schedule a lesson with me because they're super fun. But that's basically the core of my warm-ups. And then from there, you can start practicing repertoire, and whenever you find a spot where you're uncomfortable, stop, do a warm-up type exercise, and move on. There's really not that much to it. A lot of people like to do like the hour-and-a-half warm-ups where they go through every single thing. Some people don't do warm-ups. I don't like either of those methods. I like to do a consistent but not overly exhaustive warm-up. That way I can really get to the meat of my practicing, which is improv and repertoire. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have questions about something or I didn't explain something well enough, drop it in the comments. That way I can respond and get back to you. Thank you again to Andre for suggesting this video, and I'll see you guys next time.